Hey everybody, I'd first like to apologize for the recent problems we've had with the videos going out. Like we didn't have sound on the weekend vid, so I just took it down. Did not have time to get it back up because I went to see that eclipse and it was a 6 hour drive, or let me think. It's like a 5 hour drive there and then over 6 hours back with the traffic. And it was brutal, and then I got a cold, so did not trade on Tuesday and did not make any vids for Tuesday. And hopefully you guys can cut me some slack, but going forward, I'm going to make sure to double and triple check to make sure things are perfectly fine. And even today we had some problems. I'm just not sure why. So I'm just going to make sure I double check, and that doesn't happen going forward. That being said, today, what did we do? SPY went 2, go 3. And the way you can see that happen is they bought up in the morning, they sold down because you gap up, sell on a 60. It wasn't a daily gapper. It was a 60 gapper. So that lasts for 60 minutes. They buy up, they sell down, and then they buy up again. Broadening formation. Higher highs, lower lows, higher highs again. Get this in your head. This is super important. So what we could do in the morning was get short, 225ers here and here. You also had the sideways 15 and down here. And then once it hit yesterday's lows, we were like, all right, we don't know. Because look, this is outside of all of that. So then it reverses. And that would be the country western, where you can just flip long right there if you took it short in the morning. But what we mentioned was the 60 break. We did mention it potentially looked like it could fail, but it didn't. They poked up right here at 10:30 and then stayed up. No fivers down. So they went up. Everything did it. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. And this is something we want our bots to scan for, and something you need to look for, because it tells you when the algorithms get turned on to buy. So what we saw was IBM did that, 60 up. We also saw Dow Jones did that, threw on 260s up. Q's at that point was already a 2 up. So what does that tell you? Q's is stronger because it went 2 up 60, and whoever is short in the morning shorted the wrong stock. And you can see there's your 322 magnitude on Q's. Like we mentioned yesterday, does it go 2 up or 2 down? That's what matters. Since it was a 2 up, it goes to its 322 magnitude, where you can see they bought up, sold down, bought up. We also can do that on a sector basis. So if we're looking at XLY, that went 312 up. If you look at XLC Communications, that went 212 up, being stronger because there's a 212 continuation. If we go to XLP, that went 22 up, 322 up. Weaker because it was not an inside bar. If we go to XLE Energies, 322 up as well. Weaker because it was not an inside bar. If we go to XLF Financials, inside bar, so slightly stronger, takes out the morning highs, and then they got back to puking. If we go to Healthcares, 322, so weaker because it was not an inside bar. Industrials, 212 reversal. If we go to Real Estates, 322. If we go to XLK Tech, that was already going up at that point. If we go to XLB, 322. If we go to XLU, 322. So you can see the whole market at that point was a reversal 60 to the upside, and that's what an intraday simultaneous break looks like. And what that tells you is, first of all, whatever's reversing, you want the things closer to taking out the morning highs. So if you look at utilities, for example, they're nowhere near taking these guys out. So if you shorted the morning, you get to sit pretty because you're just not getting taken out. At least it's going to take a couple hours, right? But if you were to be in something like Q's, you can see at that point, you're already you're getting out of your shorts right then and there when the algorithms turn on. So that's a problem for you. If we go to things like uranium, you can see this was really a lot closer to taking that out compared to something like utilities. If you go to something like CCJ within uranium, that was even closer to taking those guys out. And if we compare that to the energies, you can see nowhere near stopping these guys out. But in the uranium, we can identify that those guys have problems. So you want to look in comparison to everything else and see like who's getting stopped out, who's in the losing position, because that's what we're looking to trade. And what you can also pick up on is who's already a buy, because when the whole market reverses, whatever's already going up has no reason it should reverse. So one way you can play that is you can go in and you can scan and say who's going twos to the upside this morning with daily actionable signals. And when that happens right here at 10:30 and everything reverses, you can just go buy that right off the simultaneous continuation and reversal across the whole market. Because at that point, there's no reason this should be a 2 down 60 or fail at all, because it's happening. They're buying that, and now the whole market's going up. So super good concept to know about, and you can make money just doing that off the 60s. But what we did was NVIDIA. We talked about this here with the inside 30, and then you had the 15 222 Randy Jackson or shotgun right there. So they go up, corrective bar against the daily open, which is green, and then the 222 back up here, confirming the daily break and getting in. If we go to AVGO, that was another one that was just going inside and up with NVIDIA this morning. We did mention it was breaking the day. We did not mention any entries into that until here. So once they've bought it already, you know how to get in, because if you know for a fact they're buying that, they're buying NVIDIA, they're buying the chips, right here, 22230, right there, you get it, and they go. So always find a way in. We also did see SMH later in the day. This one took many hours to do it, but we mentioned we had the corrective 30, and then right here, when they take out these guys' stops, as long as that's not reversing, there's your inside day up, confirming what NVIDIA is doing, which will get the weaker things starting to move and the rest of the sector starting to break with NVIDIA and supercharge what NVIDIA and AVGO were already doing. MU is another one that was strong today. 2-2's up. We didn't talk about it very much, but you had the slight triangle out. These outside of that. 2-2's back through. So you still have some range to come back through if they stay strong tomorrow. If not, inside week for next week. And what we also noticed was that same thing happened with the 2-2 reversal, also in gold. So notice the 2-2-2. What do we want to know? Whoever shorted in the morning, who's in the most trouble? Well, anyone with their stops here, which is right above your entry signal here, when the whole market turns to a buy. So we did that here, 2-2-2 gold, and we said that could probably trigger the day, because go down here on the 15 or try, or we can even zoom down in even lower on the 3-minute. This is something we call the good morning try. So in the morning, you'll form a try and then trade through it. So we can see that they're chopping around because you're an inside day. And then they sell down. So they bought up into the morning highs, sold down into new lows. When that reverses back through, you're going to the top of this try, right? Taking these highs out. If we draw the try out, we can also potentially gauge where is that trying to draw to. So when we saw the lines were well above yesterday's highs, we were thinking, well, you're probably going to try and do that. If you go to the 60s, it's going to be the same thing as saying when these bars here take this out, you're an outside bar to this. So these three outside of that, and then it expands and keeps going. 2-2-2 on the day as well. So there's your shotguns everywhere. Silver also did that. 2 up, 2 down. Notice they bought up, sold down, taking both sides of this previous range. And then the 2-2-2 back up here. It's like, yep, they're buying everything. Goes up. Forming an inside day for tomorrow. We also know that means go by miners. So there's your GDX 222. There's your JNUG 222 on the 60s and the dailies. And WPM is our major miner we've been talking about. So the gap down buy in WPM, we got to do that yesterday. And then today, the add 22260 here to get more. So that was pretty good. And then tomorrow, 222 again, if they're going to really get it going. And the other thing we want to note here is something we'll talk about on the weekend vid. They bought the first week, came back the second. That's a buy because the month is in force and the quarter is also in force. And they're trying to do what? Take this sideways 3-year pattern and up with gold, because gold is also doing 3-year inside bar pattern and up. Miners will lag it just simply because they don't make their money until after gold is already higher, but they will go up exponentially as long as gold stays up there. So that's something we want to know about and keep doing. Along with energies, if we see those reverse, they have some hammers today, but a lot of inside weeks. I'd rather talk about those next week myself, but I'll mention them there. Now, what do we got for tomorrow? So IWM will be an inside day, which will either confirm the rally or negate it. So that's something you want to know about, and you want to stay outside of that inside bar to get some expanding going. Dow Jones was still weaker today, so 3, and you can see there's your try. They poke up, then back in. So does that still continue down, or can they 3-2 up tomorrow? That's our question, because we have not seen this one really reverse, neither IWM. So that's something we'll want to know about. As far as where we see strength, consumer discretionary, we see some of that. Communications, we see some of that. So in consumer discretionary, that's where we're going to be. Home builders, you got inside day DHI, inside day LEN, inside day PHM. And those are all bigger names. So for Lotto Friday, probably get some bigger moves in there if those days can break and hold all simultaneously together. So that's something we want to know about. We can also potentially take a look at Caesar in the consumer discretionary casino and gambling, along with DKNG 322, which this one's a little bit more of a chop shop. I'd prefer Caesar, but we've seen a lot of DKNG, the really crazy stuff going on. So potentially they could get this going. It's still relatively early in the month. It's just, you can see it's an inside month. We'd prefer the weekly for next week, but you could set it up. So what we can also take a look at is in the chips. You'll have Intel inside day. Remember the 2-2 on a Tuesday, and we said you just hold it? Killed. So now inside day pivot machine gun the other way. If they want to try and bring it back through last week's 3, they could set up a hammer with that. So PMG and Intel will also see in the chips. NXPI is an inside day, still an inside month, so nothing crazy. SWKS inside day. It is a 2 on the month, but mother bar to this, so not so much going on there. If we go to ADI, a little bit better there. 2 up month, 2 up week with the hammer. So hammer could confirm what we saw in NVIDIA and AVGO today, and along with Intel tomorrow potentially. So that's something we can look for. TSM will have the Randy Jackson actionable signal. Bright green month, so that's good. 2 up week, that's good. 222 here to get you into that uptrend if they're going to get going above 147.57. That'd be my favorite for tomorrow. And we can also go into the Dow Jones. You'll have a few 3s in there. Let me pull them up here. HON 3 for the 3-2 hammer reversal at the bottom of the broadening formation. You will have potentially Visa as a rev strat in the financials. And then also in the financials, you have AXP, a potential hammer after taking out those lows. If we zoom it out a little on the daily, you will see this. And before I forget, in the consumer discretionary, I missed one. ANF in the consumer discretionary. This is a great setup for Friday because if this PMG and works, could go from 117 into like potentially 124. So this is where I'll pick out an option for you guys and show you why that's a good thing to know about. So if we think it can go potentially 124, we want to be in the money before that happens. So a 120 call would probably be around where we want to sit. So into Lotto Friday, these are worth pretty much nothing. So tomorrow, these are going to be worth maybe 30 cents at the open max. If it breaks, maybe you pay 35 cents, but if it holds, these could go, $4 in the money. That'd be a pretty crazy move, right? So when we're looking at these setups, this is how you can weed things out if you got the time to do it. If you don't, go at the money and just make sure you stick to things that aren't too pricey as far as IV and earnings goes. But that is something you want to know about. The liquidity there isn't the best, but you really don't need much. If those are going to go multiple 100%, maybe 5 of those, $150, and take whatever you made in NVIDIA today and throw some of that in there, right? As far as the guys in the premium. But the last thing I can add in there is Costco with the hammer day. Sadly, we do not see Walmart doing that. They gapped up in the morning with the rest of the market, gave us the sell. There was a 322, which I did buy some in there, but it came back and stopped me out. So nothing we can do. Just didn't work. Kroger, similarly, just didn't work. Recovered a little stronger than Walmart, so there's a chance, but you have to become a 2 up tomorrow to stop those guys out. So how do you do that? But that'll be about it for us tonight. I hope you guys have had a good trading week, besides the fact that we haven't had much videos out. Going into next week, we'll have a lot of weekly setups to be talking about this weekend, so watch out for that. But I hope you guys have a great Lotto Friday, and I'll see you guys in the weekend vid.